Toyota Verso Review. The Toyota Verso-S is a successor to the unexpectedly popular Yaris Verso. Launched in the UK in 1999, the Yaris Verso remained on sale until late 2005, during which time it sold over 10,500 units in the UK. It was decided that the second generation was too similar to the standard Yaris to sell well in the UK, hence the many years without a B-segment MPV in Toyota's lineup. The concept of a supermini MPV is not a new one. There are a number of variations on the theme on offer today, among them the Honda Jazz, Citroën C3 Picasso, Kia Venga, Nissan Note, and now Toyota is taking them on with the new Verso-S. On paper the Verso-S looks like a good entrant in this niche in the supermini market. It is less than 4 meters long, has a pretty roomy cabin, and seemingly ticks all the boxes that will matter most to prospective, and most likely older, buyers, with both comfort and affordability top of that priority list. It's as well that the 1.33 VVT-i petrol version isn't expensive to run, since it's the only engine option available. So there's one engine, but two trim levels, both reasonably spec'd, the TR and a more luxurious T-Spirit. By the standards of its limited direct rivals, the Verso-S appears very competitive. But with a list price that puts it up against plenty of models besides mini MPVs that offer a broad array of talents, the Verso-S needs to do more than just meet the standards of its niche segment to stand out. Toyota was keen to ensure that the new Toyota Verso-S offered more appealing styling than the Yaris Verso, which was rather vulnerable to the accusation that it looked like a modified van, and in general the firm has been successful. Toyota's current design language is very evident in the front end, which has notes of the IQ's bluff, Stingray-inspired look, and although the rear is a touch frumpy, it is inoffensive and allows for a usefully low load height. The Verso-S has a tall windscreen, so instead of two wipers that don't stretch to its top, it has a central wiper on a cam that allows it to clear a surprisingly large amount of the glass. There's an L-shaped profile to the bumper at the front, too, pushing some air out sideways and up, limiting the amount of flow beneath the car. The single-bladed grille is Toyota's most recent family face, while contours next to them reduce the visual bulk of the front bumper. A discrete spoiler is standard and assists in achieving a CD figure of only 0.298, or 0.30 if you are rounding up, which isn't too bad. At the back, secondary lights are set low and wide in the rear wings. The idea, according to Toyota, is that they emphasize the Verso-S's wide stance and low center of gravity. In other words, they make it look less top-heavy. The rear roof spoiler's leading edge trails a feature line into the rear window to add visual interest to what could otherwise be a bulky rear corner. The door handles get a curiously intricate surround. The partial recess we think is meant to make it look like the front of the handle is cleaving air as it travels forwards, thereby adding a hint of dynamism to the sides of the car. It's unlikely that many Toyota Verso-S buyers will be seeking scintillating performance, but the sheer effort required to wring reasonable out-of-town speeds from the Toyota's 1329cc petrol motor is more than you would have to expend in plenty of other small petrol-powered cars. In the sprint to 60 miles per hour we managed 12.1 seconds, which on paper is perfectly acceptable, but in practice the buzzy engine is never a relaxing or enjoyable motor to use. Despite the Verso-S's low weight, the engine feels strained even at normal motorway speeds and doesn't provide the flexibility that you require for easy progress on a typical B road. This is not a car that needs to be fast, and it is responsive enough for the urban roads on which it will most often be driven. But it is nonetheless a shame that the Verso-S requires such hard work when it is taken outside the confines of the low-speed urban environment. At this price point there are plenty of other, equally practical cars that are more at ease with the task of being driven at a brisk motorway clip. The Verso-S, on the other hand, can leave you feeling exposed due to the engine's lack of response at higher speeds. Refinement is not what you would hope for at higher speeds, either. The engine is very hushed at lower revs, but road and wind noise intrudes noticeably at other times, so that even when the engine isn't in its vocal upper ranges the Verso-S can be a less than calming way to travel. The brakes on the Verso-S are very good in terms of outright stopping power and feel further down the brake pedal travel, even if the initial bite is a little sharp. Despite only having drums at the rear, the brakes stood up well to hard use throughout our testing.